On Sunday Night Football, the game started in November and ended in December. Didn't see that coming. What up, Broncos country? My name is Brandon Gilchrist. What a great weekend of football. Candidly, I was a little nervous about this one. The Broncos coming off a bye, the Commanders also coming off a bye and having 2 weeks to prepare. Dan Quinn taking over as defensive coordinator. Expected the defense to look a little different than it had the rest of the season. And you know what? The Commanders gave the Broncos all they had. It was a great game, went into overtime. Once again, the Broncos found a way to win, and that's all that matters. It was also really fun watching the broadcast and hearing Broncos country through the broadcast. There were a few occasions where you heard, "Let's go Broncos," coming through the broadcast. Broncos country traveled and was present for this game, and I know the team felt it. Overall, this game felt like the defense needed the offense's help more than the offense needed the defense. All game, the Commanders were driving the field, responding to the Broncos' scores, and stayed on the field quite a bit because the defense kept allowing long third down conversions, and also the Commanders were 100% on fourth down conversions. The offense definitely needed to carry its weight in order to ensure the Broncos won. And that was evident in this game. I loved the commitment to the run game in this one. The distribution with RJ Harvey, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyler Bidet was perfect. Early on, the Broncos really needed to figure out how to finish drives, taking those 2 field goal attempts and turning them into touchdowns. The tackling on defense was rough. I'll attribute this to all the time that they had off and not having that type of contact, because that doesn't happen during practice during the week. It seemed like there were some missed tackles early on, and they got better in the second half after knocking off the rust. Penalties. Thank you. Got better in this one. 5 for 33 yards. A night and day improvement from what we've seen from the Broncos all season. A few of the penalties in this game were questionable, and this is on both sides. It was also strange in overtime when the referee allowed Washington to not only choose to kick the ball, but also choose which way they wanted to kick the ball. That's not how that process is supposed to work. It seems like no matter when overtime is played this year, it still hasn't been executed correctly by the officials. That being said, it was still a great performance overall by both teams and a really entertaining game on national TV. Also want to shout out Chris Hathaway and his team. Broncos just put in brand new sod, just like Washington did, and you could see the difference in maintenance. Guys were slipping all over the place. Chris Hathaway and his team never would have allowed that in Broncos country. So, once again, so thankful for our grounds crew at Mile High. When we look at some key moments of the game, the defense put great pressure on Mariota, and Dre Greenlaw got his first interception as a Bronco. That was awesome to see. Bo Nix responding with an insane touchdown throw. If it was you know who, it would be on all the highlight reels this week. Treylon Burks. Riley Moss was in perfect coverage. You can't cover anybody better. That one-handed grab in the end zone was Odell Beckham Jr.-esque. Alex Singleton late, back in his first game. What a great pass breakup. They were using Zach Ertz as I thought they would, and Alex Singleton made a huge pass breakup towards the end of the game on a 3rd and 21. And then finally, Nick Bonito with the play of the game. Great adjustment in calling the timeout at the end there when Washington was going for the 2-point conversion. Left Nick Bonito as a free rusher. Regardless of the fact that a guy was open in the flats, his pursuit was designed to break up that play, and that's how it played out, and sealing it for the Broncos' victory. When we look at the defense, you could tell in the game plan there was concern about Marcus Mariota's rushing ability. He rushed more than I was really expecting him to in this one. Only 2 sacks on him. For the second or third time all season, the defense was having a hard time getting off the field in this one. Their game plan of getting the ball out quickly reminded me of when we played the Colts early on. Daniel Jones was on fire and pinpoint with his accuracy, and it seemed like Marcus Mariota was playing the game of his life. The defense also allowed quite a few 3rd down and long conversions and 4th down conversions in this one. They just couldn't get off the field, and by the end of the game, you could tell they were exhausted. There were a few mental errors in this one that I'm just going to attribute to rust at this point. By the second half, the defense did adjust. You could see them start to put the clamps down, especially when it came to rushing in this game. We knew that was the strength of the Commanders, and they came out rushing and had a really good rush plan. When you combine that with the fact that The Broncos were having a tough time tackling at the start of this game. The Commanders were finding some momentum to help keep them in this game. When the Broncos adjusted and started finally finishing tackles and finishing plays, the game started to flip a little bit more. Riley Moss did an excellent job covering all night. There were reports that he was wearing boxing gloves all week to make sure that he wasn't as grabby in his coverage. That translated, and he had a couple great pass breakups in this one. It was also nice to see Pat Surtain back in uniform and on the field. He seemed to pick up right where he left off. The only touchdown that he allowed to Terry McLaurin was an obvious pick play that, in my mind, should have been called for a penalty. For the offense, I loved seeing RJ Harvey have the majority of the carries here. The yards don't scream out to you, 13 for 35, but what I do like is him getting reps. You can see his development happening right there on the field. So the more carries he can get between now and the end of the year, the better. His integration into the pass game as well just makes him a great dual threat for this offense. RJ also had 2 touchdowns tonight. That gives him 4 receiving touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns. An impressive performance by him this year. J.K. Dobbins was averaging around 15 to 20 carries a game. I would be okay with RJ getting that amount as well. There were contributions all over the field in this one. Adam Troutman was really on display in this game. He was the chain mover for sure. Evan Ingram also had a game. Here was his breakout performance that we were really looking for. 6 receptions for 79 yards. Awesome run after catch in the overtime drive. He seems to start slow. He had a couple drops early that were really frustrating. That's been consistent throughout the year. So it seems like it's one of those things where you've got to throw him the ball a few times for him to get used to the pace of play before he starts catching him. Good news is, he does seem to catch him late in the game when it really matters. Courtland Sutton was also in this game. I still think he's got to be a leading receiver. He had a few key catches in this one tonight, and congratulations to him for being the 3rd fastest Bronco to 6,000 yards. Consistently reliable target for Bo Nix, and again, still think he needs to be getting the number 1 targets for this team. As for Bo Nix, he had a very solid follow-up performance to his performance in the Chiefs game, which was great to see. He threw the ball more than you would like, and I know this was because of a slightly struggling run game. They only rushed 23 times total, but overall, he handled himself well. There was really only one truly questionable pass, and that was the interception to Bobby Wagner. Loved seeing him use his legs to move the chains and keep the offense on the field. That's exactly what we need him to do going forward and in the playoffs. There were a couple instances where I also saw him reset his feet to make sure that he made the throw, and that was encouraging to see as well. The throws that he's missing are truly due to something that's completely within his control. So love to see him making the adjustment there. We need him to continue to do that going forward in order for this team to reach the goals that it has this year. There's such a confidence in Bo at this point to lead this team down, to score when we need it, and the same thing translated in overtime once again. For special teams, solid job here in performance. From a kick coverage perspective, they really locked down the Commanders' return game, which was great to see. Will Lutz was solid again, 2 for 2, and Jeremy Crawshaw had a very solid punting night as well. Special teams overall, really solid performance from this group. When we talk about build the bunker and bring the thunder, I was having a really hard time thinking about a build the bunker moment. And to me, there's just something that we want to keep our eyes on. That's the defensive pass coverage. Again, I'm going to contribute this to Rust, but it is something I want to keep an eye on. The formula of how the Commanders attacked our defense, getting the ball out extremely quickly, complemented with their rush plan, is something that the Broncos are going to need to adjust to, because you can bet that there are going to be other teams that, if they have the personnel to do it, they're going to use that same plan. In terms of Bring the Thunder, I would say the distribution of the run game. Love that RJ was the lead carrier here. Want to see the uptick here from 23 to being around 30 carries, with spelling RJ with Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet where necessary. But give RJ as many reps as we can. He should absolutely be the lead back. Now let's talk about weekly salutes. There are a couple that I want to give out in this one. One is to Alex Singleton. For him to find out he has cancer, play on Thursday night and help the team beat the Raiders, have surgery, then use the bye week to recover and come back and play in this game and make plays all over the field as he's been doing, you have to give it up to him. How he contributes to this team goes beyond just the individual plays that he's making. His leadership is evident in the locker room, and you can tell that the group loves him. Salute to Alex Singleton and his performance on Sunday Night Football. I also want to give a salute to Bo Nix. Putting together back-to-back performances in this late season of football is exactly what we want to see. My expectation is that he continues to do that. He's quietly had a solid performance all season, and he's starting to steady himself late in the season, especially when it comes to his feet, especially when it comes to his decisions in throwing the football. We're starting to see him find his stride at the right time. Salute to Bo Nix, continuing to grind it out and get better, ignoring all of the outside noise and just fighting for your teammates. That's what we want to see. So excited that he is a Bronco. This was a really solid follow-up performance for the team as a whole. The next game should be a continuation of what we saw on Sunday night with more refinement in all phases of the game. The goal for the last 5 games of the season is to be hitting our stride by week 18 to hit the ground running for the playoffs. The Broncos are absolutely aiming for that first seed and that first week bye, and they're in a good position to do so. What do you think about the Broncos' overall performance on Sunday Night Football? Let me know in the comments. As always, be kind. Talk to you soon, Broncos country.